On down.
Hello,
All right. Hello, Dr. Lamb.
how are you?
Yeah, busy. So busy. How are you?
Ah, I'm just fine.
Just
So
fine.
I'm going to share my screen
Okay.
and let's look and see. All right, so move over right here. Okay. Okay, faith-based. And Denison. All right, so let me go to my Qualtrics account. Let me move this stuff out of the way so I can see. Move that up, get that out of the way. All right, so Denison, we got 48 questions and 48 responses. Is that correct? Is this us?
That is right. Well, it just took me out. Okay. Log
That's
back
us.
in.
All right,
Okay.
so
It
let's
just
go
logged
ahead
me
and
back
click on
out.
that one and see what we got. And so what I would do, let's see, go to data and analysis and do a report. Let's see what we got here. And so I would look at the mean of each of these. And I would pick maybe 3 things, do a little item analysis. So when we look, what we're looking for right here is this mean score. So that one's 143 on this question. Okay, when we'll look at these, and that one's 190. And I'd look at those and I'd pick the 3 or 4 lowest, and then, and that's what I would focus on, is making a recommendation in those 3 or 4 areas for it the most. And then the faith-based organization survey is the same way.
Okay.
Just do
So
a quick item analysis. I mean, we're not trying to, remember, we're just trying to get a notion of we can't address everything in your action plan. I mean, your action plan shouldn't have a lot of moving parts in it. What we're looking for is a deliverable to the organization, and it has to be more than just a set of recommendations. That's where we start. Of course, we have a set of recommendations. Here are the things that are low. Here are the things that I would suggest that you do from the content knowledge that you have gained through the course. Here are some things that I would say that we should do. And then, put them in a little quick and dirty action plan. Let me show you that right quick. And this is the one, and I've given you, I'll email this one to you.
okay. I've seen that.
I've used it. I've given it to you before. So let's say we got out of 4 areas that we're concerned about from Denison, 4 from faith-based. From that, we would come up with no more than, we'd see if they crosswalk to any at all, are they the same kind of things? We'd come up with a series of recommendations. When I say series, 8 would be the maximum. I would prefer somewhere between 4 and 8. And then how are we going to operationalize those? That becomes the action plan. So we have to have from each of the recommendations, we would have a specific activity. And then we go from there. And so let me show you that right quick. And you can use either one of these according to how best it fits into with what you're doing. And this is the deliverable to the organization, the actual action plan. You know, it has to be more than just, all right, I've analyzed the data, here's my recommendations. Well, the next step, what a consultant does is says, here are the specific activities, the plan that you need to do to address these recommendations. Specific activity, timeline, the person's responsible, the resources needed, both fiscal and human. And then if you want to go a step further, and if you can, you know, the formative assessment, who's going to check to make sure that these activities are happening? Remember, formative assessment is for fidelity. Is it happening, what you asked them to do? Summative assessment is how we're going to assess at the end if it's working or not, what our ultimate long-term goal is, and then the indicator of success is, you know, where are we on that long-term goal? We can't expect to make our goal right away, but if we're showing progress, what would an indicator of success be?
Okay.
So, but now, you know, I will accept specific activity, timeline, persons responsible, and the resources. And you could say, well, the organization will have to figure out how they're going to assess it. Now, I like the assessment piece. How are we going to do fidelity? How are we going to assess the adults? Fidelity, how are we going to assess whether it worked? Our goal, I like that piece. But now, if that's not available, you know, use the abridged one. But again, we're going to get 4 of the lowest areas from each of these surveys and make a recommendation. So the most it would be, and if they overlap, it may be 6 recommendations. It may be 4. So that way you've got a minimum of 4 recommendations and a maximum of 8.
Okay.
Then we take and operationalize those recommendations into a specific activity. Here's what you need to do to address this recommendation. And that's what you give the consulting organization, and run to the bank and try to cash your check right quick. I mean,
Okay.
again, we don't get into the implementation. And that's why I give you this option. See, once you start formative assessment, this is, you notice it's a front half and a back half. This is, the front half is the activities, the back half, this is implementation on this half. You know, and I said, we don't get into implementation, but we can tell them how to do these things.
Secure
If it doesn't make
message.
sense, you can stop with these 5 right here. I don't mind if you stop right there.
Okay.
And we purred them out into 5 rather than 4. We separate human and fiscal if we're going to do the short version. We put it all together in the long version. So this action plan, the first half is what we're going to do. The second half is how we're going to assess it. And
Secure
you know,
message.
since we're not required to do implementation, if you just do the first short one, I'm okay with that. That's good. It's according to how deep you want to go. Again, this
So
is about you.
Okay. So when I'm looking at the form, which I've seen it before, you're saying the first half is what they're
This
gonna
half,
do.
you got to do this half to right here.
Okay, I see that.
That's for it to be a plan and not just recommendations. You got to do the first half up through resources. Now, as you can see, the second half is about the implementation. Since we don't require it, you could tell them how to assess it. You could tell them how, you know, to assess their adults, or make a plan for how they're going to assess the adults, make sure they're doing, you know, they're implementing these activities. And then how you're going to assess overall whether it's working, the implementation is working of this activity, and then what your goal would be eventually long term, and then in the short term, what would be successful. If we got this much improvement, that would be a success. But again, this is all optional, and it's according to the kind of project that you're in. This is required. Got to have this for it to be a plan. And again, this is that. You say, well, Dale, that's 4 and that's 5. Well, you notice this column is both fiscal and human. When you do the long version, we purred them out separately. If you're just going to do the short version, we have you purred them out separate.
Okay.
But again, if you look at this graphic organizer, the first half is how are we gonna do this? The implementation. The second half is how we're gonna assess it once it's being implemented. Since we don't require implementation on your part, the second half is optional. You can tell them how to do it. Because that's one of the things they'll ask you usually is, when you have a plan, they're gonna say, well, how are we gonna assess if it's working or not? Well, then we fill out the whole thing. That don't mean we do it. It just means we tell them how they do
So
it.
how to do it. Okay.
IBC release
Okay?
Okay,
for the refund sheet. Leaving my message, please give me a call at
okay.
704.
And then everything's recorded, because I'm trying to write at the same time as listening, so it's recorded, okay.
Yeah, I'm recording
Okay.
and I will send you this graphic organizer and I will send you the recording as soon as we get done. That's why I like to do them on Zoom, so I have.
Okay,
But yeah, just do a quick item analysis of the 48 and look at them. Look at those mean scores, just do a quick item analysis with them. I mean, we could feed this in and do an analysis of variance, but remember, this is survey data. It's just opinion. And we don't care. And again, we don't care that we're not going to run chi-square because we don't care if it's a convenient sample. It is a convenient sample. And so all we really need to do now is an item analysis.
okay,
Because we're not working with multiple organizations here. We're just working with one. So we're good. Yeah, this is good. All right, so that's all you really, again, back to that. You move this out of the way. Again, we're gonna look at again what we're looking for, and see, I would just copy and paste this right here. That when you're presenting your findings, I would pick my 4, and then I would just copy and paste this line right here that has that and shows these are the lowest ones. I mean, you can graph it out, you can do a report, but I wouldn't do that. I'd simply pull those 4, make it quick and easy. There's no need to get too deep and involved. Just pick the 4 lowest ones. And then look at your faith-based organization exactly the same way. And you're good to go.
okay, so the lowest, okay. Okay, I'll have to.
All right, I'm gonna send you this form and this video, and when you're not at work and people are you're gonna sit down and look at
Yes.
this, and then you have questions, you're gonna get back to me. Let's take it small
Okay.
bites at a time, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, it's good to see you today.
All right, thank you. Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye, Dr. Lamb. Okay, bye.